Good evening, everyone. The time is 5 p.m. and the Belton Independent School District Board of Trustees are now convened in a workshop on Monday, September 15, 2025. A quorum of board members is present. This meeting has been duly called. The notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551. Public comments, Becca, none. Moving on to item 3, board workshop, parents as partners. Dr. Goldman.
Yes, thank you, board, for being here this evening. So tonight, we are going to be talking about our parents as partners in the education of their children. As most of you, or all of you, are parents. I was a parent and am a parent and raised 5 children. We fully know as educators we cannot educate our children without the partnership of our parents. And so tonight we're going to dig into two areas underneath that umbrella. First, we're going to do this a little out of order, but first, it's one presentation, but we want to hit some highlights of recent legislation. There were a lot of bills passed in this last legislative session that impacts public education. And so Senate Bill 12 is one of those pieces of legislation, and there is a lot of detail to this bill. And so we want to be able to go through and hit some of the highlights of this bill, because later this evening on an action item, we have a resolution related to Senate Bill 12. And so tonight is not a night that we have all of the questions that we can answer and all of the guidance from the Texas Education Agency on Senate Bill 12. It is taking time for some of that guidance to come out, but we want to be able to make sure that you're aware of what is within Senate Bill 12. There are things we are already moving to put in place and working to absolutely comply with Senate Bill 12. And then there are some things we're still waiting on TEA guidance for. And so underneath the umbrella as parents as partners, we also want to share with you, as we have been doing in the last couple of years, we have a series called Parents as Partners, where we have identified topics that our parents are most interested in and built a curriculum, if you will, around those topics. And sometimes that's delivered in a face-to-face session. Sometimes that's delivered in an online lunch and learn. And so we're also going to go over a big picture of what this year looks like. And so Christine is going to lead us through this journey through Senate Bill 12. You'll notice normally we don't have lots of cabinet members at the table with us. They are here because this bill touches lots of different departments, and there may be a question you have that a particular cabinet member could either answer or let you know when we can have that answer for you and follow up. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christine.
Thank you, Dr. Golden. Thank you, Board of Trustees, for allowing us to be here tonight and share a little bit with you about Senate Bill 12 and our overall Parents as Partners initiative. Senate Bill 12 was a comprehensive piece of legislation that was passed this session, and just like with any legislative session, sometimes implementation date for this bill was September 1st, but even written into the bill, there is governance and other pieces of information that we require from TEA to give guidance on before we can fully implement different pieces and parts. That's not uncommon. After a legislative year, we often have to wait for guidance in some pieces. So what we're doing tonight is we created a workflow that allows us to really track and look at all the different components and requirements of Senate Bill 12 and give you kind of a high-level view at what we already have in process and what's working and what's on its way, and then other things where it is a work in progress, where we are either implementing or starting to implement some different procedural pieces, and or where we may be waiting for more guidance as that unfolds. But it's a commitment to you and to our community that we do value our parents. We know we can't do the job that we do without them, and we want them to be parents on the journey. So when we look at Senate Bill 12 overall, we've kind of divided our work up into 3 broad categories as we look at it. One of them is policy updates and implementation. So as you can see here, we've got governance and public participation policies, teaching and learning policies, and then human resource policies. So the policy committee will be very busy, just like they always are after a legislative session, and we will be bringing these policy suggestions to them. At this time, we have not received model language on many of these, But as they come through, we will cycle those through policy committee and then of course come to you with those pieces. But you can see we have some pieces that we have already begun to implement, even though the policy may not have been adopted yet in terms of public participation and when we hold board meetings and some of those components. And we actually have a couple of new policy codes that will be coming, so we are really and truly waiting because we have no idea what that language exactly will look like. So again, we are somewhat delayed in full adoption of these policies only because we are waiting on that guidance to come, but definitely in progress as we are getting pieces of information from the TEA. The next piece is, and as we really look at it, we have opportunities for parents. Again, we see our parents as partners in the learning journey, and here are already opportunities that are outlined in Senate Bill 12 that we were already providing and or that we have been able to put in place prior to or right here at the start of the school year. So you can see the consent for different services, including club participation. We have always had access to library collections online. We have the TEA discipline information that's accessible, and you have already had the opportunity where community can address you and provide comments and concerns to you online via the website. That is something that's already been in place, and they're able to contact you that way. And then we have also had some opt-out procedures for some instructional pieces. Those have already been in place, and we've had other topics that have been prohibited, and that has not been something that we have provided. So here are some of the current opportunities that we have in place. Again, many were already in place. Some we've tweaked and are continuing to tweak with new guidance. And then opportunities and information that will be coming soon. So things that we are working on, updates to the grievance policy. You know that we've had one in place, as all districts do, but there are some updates from TEA, updates to the transfer process, the parental involvement policy. We've had a parental involvement policy, but it's been very specific to Title I and Title I campuses. So we will be able to build upon that policy and let it be encompassing for all district and all campuses. Access to library materials that are checked out, so parents will be able to see a record of the books that their students have checked out. We already had an opportunity for parents to request that information, but the new system that Teaching and Learning on will provide that with much easier access. Is that fair, Gabby? You can see instructional materials review. There'll be a process for that that's coming forth, and Gabby's team has been working hard on that. And then you can see some of the other certifications as a board. You will have to certify that we are in compliance with the DEI and CRT ban. That has been our practice. It's already in place, but we have to certify that moving forward. Notifications of uncertified teachers. Obviously, we have parent conference opportunities, and those are coming up, one here in the fall and then another one later on in the year. And then you can see ongoing information about special education and bilingual education. That is something that's usually part of the intake process when students first enroll, but now we will be providing families with that information every year, and then some acknowledgement pieces in terms of how we use and store student information.
If I can add a comment about the notification of uncertified teachers, that's a common practice. We do that every year. We send out letters to parents of anybody who's uncertified in questions.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, we give ourselves credit, a couple of these things for doing it, but we're actually doing a lot of these things already, right? Not just where we've got the red notifications on it.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
And Board, before we move on, do you have any, are there any of these you have either in current opportunities or opportunities in information coming soon? Because I know Christine went through those two slides pretty quickly. Any comments on either of those two slides?
So can we go back one slide?
Mm-hmm.
So for the top two, I know we've already gone through we're collecting those now,
yes.
Right? I did mine a week and a half ago, so I'm in. So what happens if a parent doesn't opt in, right, for health services?
Great
Right?
question.
To me, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say anymore. I'm worried, like, could we find ourselves in a situation where a child needs something and we cannot provide it, right?
And I would love for Dr. Spearman to talk a little bit more about that, because she and her team have worked very,
Okay.
very.
She actually raised her hand.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yes, go ahead, Dr. Spearman.
So in the most recent guidance dated September 8th from TEA, they provided a definitions section, and in there, they're referencing first aid and as general caretaking procedures. We do not need consent for general caretaking procedures.
Okay.
They need a Band-Aid, they need their temperature checked, something like that.
Okay.
However, we have always had the ability, consent or no consent, if we determine that it's life-threatening, we've been able to take care of the kids.
Okay.
What we've shared, and Mary Lisa and team, the nurses have been very patient as we navigate these waters. We're going to err on the side of the kid. We're just going to call the parent. Hi, Mom, Dad, we have such and such. And there's a concern of, and then let the parent tell us what they need if we don't have a consent for more than just first aid or general care.
But like in a case where, heaven forbid, we find ourselves in a situation where we need to break out the Narcan, right? Like,
Life or death.
okay,
Yeah.
Yes,
good.
yes, yes.
Okay, got it. I'm good.
I have a follow-on question about that. I think Chris was also asking, what if if they don't get back, can you give us an idea what percentage? I mean, I know you won't know exact numbers of how many parents have, but, and then does it go to default to one way or the other? As far as this, especially about like the second one for counseling services?
In initial guidance that we received, the parents in the communication, they were given a list of things that they can opt out of and things that they can't opt out of. Now that we have new guidance, we have to go back and actually that second guidance only pertains to health. It didn't address counseling, but we'll go back and take a look at both actually. So that's the first part to your question. Again, if something's happening and we're concerned, we're just going to reach out to the family and say, hey, here's what's happening. What are your thoughts? And if they say, nope, we got it, then we'll let them have it. If not, then we will provide services to the student.
I think your question is, if I don't, let me ask you, is your question, if I don't opt in or opt out, what's the default?
Yes, if
So
we haven't,
you
if
haven't
we haven't
heard from me.
received the letter back, and for example, academic counseling. So if that kid comes, which way do we default at this time? Like, or do we have?
We're calling families.
Just
If
call.
we have not, we've received 11,000 forms back. For the last 2,000, we're calling families and we're reaching out to see if we can get those last 2,000 filled out. We're making
Okay,
contact
and
with
then,
families.
so let's say for a second, man, we're getting way in the weeds, sorry about this.
Okay.
So a family decides to opt out,
Mhm.
and so we call them, and we get their okay over the phone. Are we documenting that somehow?
It has to be in
Please?
writing.
Oh, it has to be in writing? Okay,
Yes,
okay, good.
yes, it has to be in writing.
All right.
We haven't had very many families opt out of medical.
Mhm.
I can't give you an exact number right now because like I said, we
Right.
are still in the process of collecting. But I will tell you, when we were at 4,000 collected, we had 32 that opted out, and then some that called back and said, wait, that's not what I thought I was signing, can we reverse it? And so they've resubmitted.
Got it.
When it's all said and done, I don't think we'll have a lot, but we will have some.
Sure.
Prior to this legislation, parents could opt out of medical care, and we had a handful who had done so. So I don't suspect that it will be a great deal different.
Nick?
I have another question on the counseling piece. Are we offering both? Does the form that we sent out offer both, like mental health counseling and the academic counseling, or is it all in one?
So the previous communication that we sent out listed all the items that counselors do. Correct. And we asked parents to opt in, opt out, but it also listed the things that could not be opted out. And I'll give you an example. Character traits, we're required to teach character traits. And so that wasn't an option that was available for opting out because we're required to teach them. They're a part of our teams.
And just on that note, a huge thank you to our parents. It is obvious that our parents value being a part of their children's education and their journey just in that response rate alone. It's been less than 2 weeks, maybe just about 2 weeks since those initial forms went out, and to have over nearly 80% of those forms back is truly amazing. So that speaks to our parents and their concern for their kids and their involvement.
I did get my first club opt-in message. Well, at least the first one that I had to respond to. It wasn't immediately obvious to me how to do that. So there's a little bit of a learning curve, I think, from a parent's perspective. Because I think you see essentially a PDF version at the bottom that you can't do anything with. You got to pay attention to the link that's higher up in order to get, so, yeah.
Okay. But we'll make a note of that, and we'll work to see if we can make that.
I don't know that that's something that we did. I think it's
No.
the platform, but.
Mm-hmm. But
yeah.
no, we can absolutely look into it, though, so
Yeah, but
thank you.
if we find that folks aren't doing it or are complaining about it,
That
could be why.
I could see why.
Mhm.
It took me a good couple minutes
Yeah.
of
Are those
fighting.
sent via Parent Square email or both?
Yeah, Parent Square.
Parent Square,
Mhm.
we send them the same way we sent the other forms.
Yeah.
Because Parent Square gives us the option to be able to track, and it gives parents natural reminders. to
Yeah, I
communicate
mean, I love the
with
fact that I could do it there electronically, by the way. The fact that I did not have to print out that form and send it back was awesome, so.
Shout out to our
Yes.
technology team for helping come
There
up
you
with a
go.
solution on
Yes,
that.
yes,
So-
for sure.
Yeah.
And kind of to that end, communication on this is important for all of our families. And so doing all these things and putting all these different components in place is one thing. Parents knowing about how to access the resources and their opportunities to be involved is another. And so if we move right now to the resources page, one of the other requirements of Senate Bill 12 is to have a hub online, a website where all of the opportunities that are offered to our families to participate and to be involved in their children's education is accessible. So Becca is going to jump into it for us. Sorry, she has to jump in and navigate this one. But we have tried to make it as easy as possible to navigate. So this is our Parents as Partners webpage. Again, we see our parents as valuable partners in their child's learning journey. And up at the top, you will see that there are buttons. And this website is by no means in a finalized format. We are adding to it every time that we receive additional guidance and more information. But you can see at the top, there are quick links to TEA information. As far as rights, parents' rights, you can see information about the grievance process, information about how to access our library catalogs. All of those pieces and components that we talked about earlier are going to be here, accessible and easy for our parents to get to. And again, some of those processes we're still in the development phase, so again, stay tuned. There will be more added as we continue to grow these processes and procedures. Underneath, you will see all of our Parents as Partners events. Again, getting our parents involved, not only in knowing and seeing what their child is doing, but also helping them utilize some of the resources and tools that we have in place is very important for us as a district. So our Parents as Partners have been a program for multiple years, and last year we really analyzed it and we decided to add an online component as well as an in-person component for our Parents as Partners events. And we did a survey at the end of the year, and we received some great feedback about the online options, and that parents really appreciated that opportunity, especially for topics that were kind of universal and that covered a wide range of students, and that was more universal. We did receive feedback as well, though, from our families that are involved in specialized services, that they wanted to keep those in-person opportunities. So our special programs, they want to stay and have an opportunity to network and see and be around other families, which is amazing. And so we've continued that format forward with a variety of online and in-person sessions. Again, our PTO Council helped us prioritize some of the new topics that we're seeing for this year, as well as we're bringing back some are required topics that we make sure that we cover annually, obviously, but some are just back by popular demand because they were well received last year, so we brought them back this year. So you can see we had our first online Parents as Partners last week. It was a virtual one on really how to navigate our online resources as parents and how do you utilize those. Our technology department led that one and they did an amazing job. If you click on the little plus sign next to that, if you'll go, if I could go to the very first one though for me, the one right above it. What we have started doing is we record the online sessions and we post those there so that if someone isn't able to be a part and attend the online forum at that time, they can go back and they can watch the recording, and then underneath that you'll see that all the resources are available as well. So that's something that we've tried to archive over time. We did it for all of our Parents as Partners events last year, and those are still accessible on the website as well. So, and of course the invites go out in both English and Spanish, and you can see the presentation slide deck. So again, we had our first one of the year. We're off to a great start. We have another one tomorrow that Teaching and Learning will be hosting for our elementary families, and you'll see the rest of the variety. If we can just scroll down, Becca, just to kind of see the different topics that we have. We'll have a bilingual event coming up in early October. We'll be doing some drug awareness in October, and some online safety in November. So those are some of the big topics that are coming up, but obviously these are here. As far as reminding parents that these events are out there, if it's a session that's relevant to all families in the district, they will receive 2 reminders through Parent Square ahead of time that event is coming. If it's a very specific audience for, let's say it's a bilingual event and that's for bilingual families, those families that are will be communicated with specifically through Parent Square as well. So everybody gets several of these invites, but again, if it's a special program or a specialized audience, just those groups will receive the invitation. And so we're excited again just to see how the combination of in-person and online moves us forward this year, and we'll continue to survey our parents every year. We'll use our PTO group because they were a valuable resource in giving us some feedback about topics, and make sure that we continue to offer sessions that are relevant and meaningful and just in time for our families.
So a couple of connections real quickly to make. One, thank you to our board for feedback, because I had many conversations with y'all, particularly about 2 years ago, with individual board members, just concerned about turnout on these events and whether or not, how are we communicating them? Are the topics the right topics? And so if you think back a couple of years ago, if you were on the board, to where we are now today, Christine has a team that she works with to make sure that this curriculum is meeting the needs of our parents. We have feedback loops built in. We have an incredible PTA, PTO leadership team that meets every month. And so to fast forward to today, where it's clearly, transparently put up what we're offering, and that we are also videoing and putting slide decks, I just kudos to Christine and team for taking what was a good idea, but making it better and more accessible to our families.
And
so,
thank you for that, but emphasis on the team. And technology is also a huge player in that process, especially with the online one. So my team and Chad's team for sure. So.
any comments or questions on just a Parents as Partners web page and landing page, or some of the events that we have scheduled this year? I think the other dots I'd like to connect is also in our teacher listening sessions that we do on all campuses. The standards-based learning for elementary was one that we would hear from teachers, just the importance of continuing to help our parents understand that at kindergarten, first and second. And so this is also in response to feedback from teachers and a need teachers were seeing as well.
I don't have kids in the district anymore, but man, that'd been fantastic if I would have had something like this comprehensive. It's been great.
Well, we hope so, and we hope that it is what our parents need.
Yeah.
But we're seeking that feedback so that if it's not, we'll tweak it. But we are hopeful that based on feedback so far, that we're hitting the mark. So if we'll go to the next, kind of the last phase, we had kind of our board policy pieces that are required as part of Senate Bill 12. We had our opportunities that we're providing parents that we've just gone through, and then kind of the last phase of our work as we are going through the workflow of implementing Senate Bill 12 is this reporting and transparency piece. And so you can see on the right-hand side the items that we are working on to make sure that we are fulfilling all of the requirements of Senate Bill 12. Many of these things were already part of our practice, but there are some reporting requirements, especially that the district will have to report compliance with directly to TEA that are different and new for us, and so we are still waiting in particular for compliance for the certification that you see the last item up there. Typically that's supposed to happen in September, we believe, and that certification and with TEA, and we haven't received guidance on what that will look like yet, but we will, again, like everything else, they are working as fast as they can to create policy and rulemaking that goes along and helps us implement these, and as soon as we get more information, we are passing that on to all of you. The other piece that we are also trying to do is, as you've seen so far in this process, Senate Bill 12 is very comprehensive, and so passing on information and processes and procedures as they're happening and coming online, we are hoping the communication of those in smaller chunks allows our families to really understand what those opportunities are as they come. So it'll be an ongoing communication process, again, as we implement these different components. So any questions on any of the reporting and transparency pieces?
I have
Yeah.
a comment or question about along again with another thing Chris was saying earlier on sometimes difficulty of finding buttons and that on the website. Do we do some testing or anything like that with parents that try to navigate this, that if they want to, check it, whatever it might be, a grievance or a library book or something, to see if they can figure out how to navigate the system. It's been hard for me too sometimes just to find things.
Sure.
Do we have some way of testing and improving our navigation of our website?
So I think that's a great point, and we are always open to feedback. One of the things that we're hoping with is that hub, and having all of those buttons and access on one page will be helpful in that. But I think that I'm going a step further when what maybe you're talking about is once we go to that, we click on that grievance tab, then how much and how difficult is it to navigate within the page? Is that kind of where you're going?
Yeah, it's just all the way around.
Sure.
I think, I mean, there's so many things that a parent might try to look up, and I'm just wondering how we can help navigate it the best.
Sure. We will absolutely look into that, and we can see records of clicks and numbers of clicks and track that kind of information, but I don't know with our website that we utilize a company that does it, if there is a way to do what you're talking about specifically, but we could do something of that nature and run that on smaller scale. So I don't know that we have anything built in with the tool that we use, but we could absolutely do some of that, and we could do it on a smaller scale, but us do it internally. So absolutely.
So question, and you may or may not know the answer to this, and this is purely really out of curiosity, but do you know, out of the reporting and certification of some of these things, will it be done like through board meetings, through action, or are these things that will just be submitted just regularly through TEA? Do you know how, if any of this will come through board meetings?
I would suspect some of it will, but we don't know. Like the facility usage reports is a great example. TEA's been charged with figuring out the form and the process for all of that. Now, whether or not they'll want that to be board approved or not, we don't know. So some things you'll see will have to come to you, and some things we'll just have to put in place. So I have a feeling the answer is it's going to be a combination of a lot of those. So some board and some administrative expectation.
And that's a perfect caveat to our next slide.
Okay, hang on one
Okay,
second.
oh, sorry.
Mary, are you asking, like, are we gonna get the data?
Well, just like, for example, the last bullet, the compliance certification that we're following the law regarding DEI and CRT. Is that something that we have to certify as a board action in a board meeting? Or is that just something that central office just does on our behalf on a Tuesday afternoon that they have
I
to
believe
submit?
that when I
That
have to
one.
certify it and go to
And-
you, and you have to
Yes.
prove that
Okay.
I've certified it. Right?
Yes. And some of, and we are still though waiting again for guidance on some of these pieces, so there could be additional pieces that we bring to you in the future. But the segue is that's part of why we are bringing the resolution to you this evening for Senate Bill 12 and parents' rights. That does it very specifically state our intention to comply with the different pieces and components of Senate Bill 12. Beck, I don't know if you can click on that for me and we can look at the specifics. I believe you all received this earlier, but here is some model language. Please know that this resolution is not required. It is not required as part of Senate Bill 12 or any other law, but as we are learning and waiting for guidance and waiting for policy implementation, some of this is having a little bit more of a lag time than others, and so the purpose of the resolution would be to demonstrate to our families and our community that we are resolving ourselves to comply with all of the Senate Bill 12 components and to truly put opportunities in place that advocate for our parents to be partners in their children's education. So every single one of these is something that we've kind of gone through previously on the previous slide, so there isn't anything different here than what we've reviewed, but I know that you all have reviewed it, and now we would love for you to ask any questions that you have.
Questions? I don't have any questions, right? I mean, this is going to be an evolution. I think this is very well intended. I think the devil's in the details. It's going to create a lot of additional work in some places, right? Where we're asking people to do things that they weren't having to do before, like chase down parents to get letters, right? And so I think we just we need to acknowledge that and support our staff as much as we can around how do we meet it, right? So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. In the resolution that we're bringing to you later this evening for action, there are 25 items, and this is one bill.
Yeah.
And so absolutely no one's arguing content. Everybody's working really hard. These are all new mandates, expectations, new processes that have to be built in some cases. Somebody has to monitor those. And so this is one bill. And so I appreciate that, and I'm super proud of our team. Christine's done a really good job of getting us a tracking document that is documenting each piece of this, who's responsible, so that we can make sure we're meeting all of the requirements. Nobody intentionally wants to miss something that's embedded in this. And I think we've already seen there may be initial guidance, and then after that guidance is actually implemented, there may have to be additional guidance. Because I do think that it's in the actual implementation that we'll learn the challenges, both positive aspects of it and challenges of trying to implement a legislative intent in a bill such as this. And so, but I just appreciate we're taking it extremely seriously. We're monitoring it and working very hard to meet the requirements of this bill. Other comments? Questions for us? Nobody asked Gabby a hard one?
Thank you.
Sorry, Gabby.
No, it's so kind of you.
All right, Gabby. No.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think that concludes our presentation for this evening.
That's it, huh?
That's
All right,
it, sir.
good. Thank you, Christine.
I know you're used to us running over. You're not sure how to act about us ending early, so.
All right, well, that concludes our board workshop this evening. There being no further business, we are adjourned at 5:36 PM.